A growing body of psychological research reveals profound differences in how men and women process and respond to criticism, with these distinctions manifesting across personal, professional, and social contexts. Where men typically internalize negative feedback as fundamental reflections of their competence and worth, women more often externalize critiques by examining situational factors and potential biases in the evaluation. This divergence stems from complex interactions between neurobiology, childhood socialization, and cultural conditioning that shape our fundamental frameworks for interpreting feedback. Understanding these patterns is crucial for improving communication in relationships, enhancing workplace dynamics, and developing more effective therapeutic interventions tailored to each gender's natural processing style. Neuroimaging studies reveal that male and female brains activate different neural networks when receiving criticism, with men showing heightened activity in self-referential regions like the medial prefrontal cortex. This suggests they instinctively process negative feedback as direct commentary on their core identity. Women's brains demonstrate greater engagement of social cognition networks, including the temporoparietal junction, indicating they're more likely to analyze criticism within relational contexts. These biological differences are further amplified by hormonal influences. Testosterone appears to heighten men's defensive responses to perceived competence threats, while estrogen and oxytocin systems help women contextualize feedback within broader social frameworks. From early childhood, boys and girls receive dramatically different socialization regarding how to interpret and respond to negative feedback. Boys are typically conditioned through competitive sports and male peer groups to view criticism as personal challenges requiring solitary improvement, with phrases like "take it like a man" reinforcing internalization. Girls more often experience criticism within cooperative play contexts, where negative feedback is framed as relationship issues to be resolved through discussion. These early experiences create enduring cognitive frameworks. Boys learn to treat criticism as private tests of their competence, while girls develop skills for analyzing critiques as part of ongoing social dynamics that can be addressed communally. Educational research documents significant gender disparities in how students respond to academic criticism, with measurable impacts on learning trajectories. Male students tend to show greater drops in subsequent test performance after critical feedback and are more likely to avoid challenging subjects altogether, interpreting negative evaluations as reflections of fixed ability. Female students, while initially showing similar emotional reactions, more frequently attribute academic criticism to temporary factors like test difficulty or preparation time, allowing them to maintain motivation. These patterns contribute to observed gender gaps in STEM fields, where boys disproportionately abandon math and science after critical feedback, while girls persist by externalizing setbacks as situational rather than innate. Organizational behavior studies reveal how these gendered response patterns manifest in professional environments with significant career implications. Men receiving critical performance reviews often withdraw socially and privately ruminate on perceived failures, sometimes making abrupt career changes in response to single negative evaluations. Women more commonly challenge assessments they view as unfair or mobilize colleagues to validate their perspectives, though this can sometimes lead to perceptions of defensiveness. These tendencies create distinct professional challenges. Men risk stagnation from over-personalizing feedback, while women may miss growth opportunities by too readily dismissing valid critiques as biased. Couples therapy research consistently identifies criticism response patterns as major sources of relationship conflict. When partners express dissatisfaction, men typically withdraw into self-examination, interpreting critiques as evidence of their fundamental inadequacy, while women more often respond with counter-criticism or detailed explanations. This creates destructive cycles where women feel ignored by their partner's silence, and men feel attacked by what they perceive as relentless nagging, each misinterpreting the other's natural processing style through their own cognitive framework. Therapists emphasize that understanding these innate differences is crucial for breaking these negative communication patterns. Clinical observations reveal men and women employ fundamentally different defense mechanisms when facing criticism. Men predominantly use internalizing strategies like repression and intellectualization, which protect their self-concept temporarily but can lead to accumulated stress. Women more frequently utilize externalizing defenses, including projection and displacement, which provide immediate emotional relief but may damage relationships. These patterns help explain why men often struggle to articulate their feelings about criticism, while women can more readily discuss the experience, albeit sometimes while deflecting personal responsibility for the issues raised. Analysis of online behavior shows men are significantly more likely to delete accounts or disengage completely after receiving negative comments, treating criticism as terminal judgments on their digital identity. Women more commonly employ active externalizing strategies, blocking critics, reporting comments, or mobilizing peer networks to counter negative feedback through collective validation. These tendencies shape platform dynamics, with men preferring anonymous spaces where criticism can be avoided and women thriving on relationship-based networks where feedback can be socially contextualized and managed through community support systems. The gender divergence in processing criticism creates distinct mental health risk profiles. Men's internalization tendency contributes to higher rates of internalizing disorders like depression and substance abuse, conditions characterized by self-directed negative affect. Women's externalization propensity correlates with higher prevalence of relationship conflicts and certain anxiety presentations marked by interpersonal tension. Therapeutic approaches must therefore differ. Men often benefit from separating self-worth from performance feedback, while women frequently need help distinguishing valid critiques from unfair attacks before responding. Sports psychology research demonstrates male athletes typically improve most when criticism is followed by solitary practice, internalizing feedback as personal technical adjustments. Female athletes tend to benefit more from collaborative strategy sessions after critical feedback, processing evaluations through team discussion. Coaches who recognize these differences can dramatically enhance player development, providing men with clear, private technical corrections, while facilitating group problem solving for women athletes to contextualize and apply performance feedback. Developmental studies reveal fathers typically internalize parenting criticism as personal inadequacy, often responding with withdrawal, while mothers more frequently externalize parenting critiques as evidence of insufficient support. These patterns can create family tensions where mothers feel abandoned with childcare responsibilities when expressing concerns, while fathers feel chronically inadequate as parents. Family therapists emphasize helping parents understand these different processing styles to break negative cycles and create more supportive parenting partnerships. Armed Forces research has led to gender-specific approaches for delivering critical feedback in training contexts. Male recruits respond better to criticism framed as skill-building challenges with clear metrics for improvement, while female recruits engage more with feedback presented as team improvement opportunities. Training programs that adapt to these differences see better retention and performance outcomes across genders, demonstrating the practical value of understanding these fundamental processing distinctions. Studies of corporate leadership reveal male executives given critical performance data typically initiate solo improvement plans, treating feedback as personal development challenges. Female leaders more often convene teams to discuss systemic issues raised in evaluations, contextualizing feedback within organizational dynamics. Both approaches have strengths. The focused internalization common in men can drive rapid personal improvement, while the externalizing tendency in women can surface broader organizational issues needing attention. Male friendships rarely discuss criticisms received from others, treating them as private matters to be handled individually. Female friendships more commonly analyze and reframe negative feedback through group discussion, providing social perspective on critiques. These patterns help explain why men often lack emotional support systems for processing criticism, while women may sometimes overanalyze feedback through endless social processing that can amplify rather than resolve concerns. Biometric studies show men maintain elevated cortisol levels longer after receiving criticism, indicating prolonged physiological stress responses. Women's stress markers spike higher initially, but return to baseline faster, particularly when they engage in social processing of the feedback. These physiological differences suggest men may benefit more from solitary physical activity to metabolize criticism-related stress, while women often find greater relief in social connection and verbal processing. While these patterns appear across cultures, their intensity varies significantly. Collectivist cultures show less pronounced gender differences in criticism processing, suggesting environmental factors can moderate these tendencies. Interestingly, societies with greater gender equality paradoxically show more pronounced differences in how men and women process criticism, possibly because increased social equality allows more authentic expression of fundamental psychological differences rather than culturally imposed similarities. Effective psychotherapy must adapt to these gender-based processing differences. Cognitive behavioral approaches for men often focus on separating identity from performance feedback and developing self-validation skills. Women's therapy frequently emphasizes distinguishing valid critiques from unfair attacks and developing more selective response patterns. Therapists who recognize these fundamental differences can tailor interventions more effectively, helping clients develop balanced approaches that incorporate the strengths of both processing styles. High-performing organizations train leaders in gender-sensitive feedback delivery. For men, this often means providing criticism in private with clear, actionable improvement metrics framed as skill development. Women typically respond better to feedback that includes relational context and opportunities for discussion. These adapted approaches lead to better performance improvements, higher retention, and more positive workplace relationships across gender lines. The cumulative effects of these criticism processing differences create distinct health risk profiles. Men's tendency to internalize criticism contributes to stress-related illnesses and shorter lifespans, as unprocessed negative feedback manifests physically. Women's externalizing patterns may protect physical health, but can lead to chronic relationship stress when criticism responses damage social connections over time. Recognizing these long-term impacts underscores the importance of developing balanced processing skills, regardless of gender. The healthiest psychological approach incorporates strengths from both styles. The capacity for honest self-reflection, characteristic of male internalization, combined with the social contextualization and support-seeking of female externalization. Individuals who learn to toggle between these approaches situationally show greater resilience, healthier relationships, and more consistent performance across life domains. This balanced processing represents an achievable ideal that acknowledges fundamental gender differences while transcending their limitations.